Hi, and welcome back to another database design chat. Today, we're going to be talking about what does the customer actually want? All right, I'm Lewis Davidson, DRSQL. If you can't find me on the web at DRSQL, then you're not looking. that's my name, my link tree. I set that up. You can go there. If you want to contact me, there'll be a slide at the end with more discussions about if you have questions or comments. All right. So one of the things that is really important when you're doing a design is requirements. And in episode 1, we talked about correctness, and correctness being meeting a specification. Well, the specification grows out of requirements. Someone has to go and say, customer, tell me what you want. What you really want. That's all I'm doing. Not going any farther. No copyright infringement involvement here. The tricky part is getting in the head of the customer. Customers are notoriously bad at telling you what they want. You know, they're good at telling you what you did wrong. And I get that. I'm a customer. I'm the same way. I'm a Disney fan. I've already talked about that. I'm easy to say what Disney did poorly with their software or something. I have no problem telling you these things. But fact is, you know, finding out what the customer wants, finding out what we're supposed to do. This software you've been challenged to create. What is it supposed to do? This is really hard. So business analysts have really hard jobs because number one, they have to be smart enough and knowledgeable enough to know about the business you're dealing with, but not force your ideas on the customer. Humble enough not to, say, back when I worked for customer X, we did it this way and it was the best, right? You may have that knowledge, you may use that to guide people from bad ideas, but you certainly wouldn't go in and say, nope, you're dumb. Do it my way or the highway. I'm leaving. That's a very weird thing to try to do as an analyst. You need to be strong enough to press unwilling customers for details. Customers do not like to share. I've already mentioned this before, and I'll probably have to mention it again. Customers don't necessarily want to spend their time talking to you. They don't get paid for that. They don't get bonuses. They don't get the things that makes them considered great talking to a software person. So they're like thinking, I got to get back to work. I got to get back to work. Okay, just whatever I have to do to get rid of this person. I mean, I admit I've probably done the same thing in my life at times because you're bored with something, you're just doing something else. Precision is a very important feature as well, because I need to take what you want. I want a computer program that runs my business, and I just specify this in a manner that's so non-ambiguous that everybody agrees. The customer knows what it means, and the end user, the programmer, knows what it means and can program it. And then the end user will be able to use that software. And then calm enough to not rip the head clean off of the customer that they're dealing with. That was probably the most important one, because I get pretty frustrated occasionally and about this because, people don't want to dig into the details. They just want to talk at the high level. We do inventory, and, we have products, and, they don't want to talk about the fact that they have different kinds of products and products that do this, and we treat these products differently. And we have this bit of data for this, and we do this. And some people get this product and then we give it away. And all those details have to be captured and written down and understood. So this person basically has to be a saint. They have to be just like so good. All right, so you talk about requirements. The biggest thing about requirements is they're your early test plans. I use my requirements once I've gotten them and kind of distilled them down. I use them as a way to test my early design. So if I have a data model and I've built 4 tables to meet what I believe meets the requirements, I'll then go back to the requirements and I'll use them in a test format. Can my software do this? Does it do this? Does it do this? Does it do this? All those things that are requirements. come down into that. Then, we boil those down into more mathematical, easy to read software specifications, and we implement them, but they're all still based on the requirements. The requirements change, the specification has to change. And then when we test the code, we use real values. We use data that the customer's given us. And then we use unreal values. We'll talk about testing a little more in the future. All right. So in all the examples I'll give in this series of chats, when I do any coding, when I put up some code, I'll always include a tiny little bit of requirements. This is a book buying system that requires this, this, and this. Because no matter what database you have, that database could always be fulfilling some requirements. Requirements and database and code go hand in hand. If they're equivalent, right? I can always take the requirements and produce a database. Maybe more than one answer to the same function, the same specifications, but still I can do that. But for every database, I should be able to distill out requirements, and this is what it means. So every example that where it's now where I'm going to build something or design something, I'm going to include requirements. So, all right. One of the things that comes down in requirements that people have in their head is we don't need to write them down because we're agile. And that is not true. That is so not true. It's just we don't do as much. We don't need to know every requirement for the system and for everything. We don't have to have a complete roadmap down to the nit and granny of what it's going to be. But we do need to know just enough. We're going to break this down into small chunks. We're going to add a new interface. We're going to change an interface. We're going to add some new data. We don't need to know every little bit. It's good to know the entire destination, the place where you're going to go with this, because if you don't, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to cobble together just really a solution for problem A, and then problem A prime and A prime prime then have to be completely rebuilt. So it's important to know what you're building and how you're building and where you're going. But you don't need to know it so deeply at the beginning. So it's good to have an architect. It's good to have a visionary, but it doesn't have to be someone who knows everything. So as a little example here, if you have gone to your family and said, we're going to go to Lake Erie and we're going to have a nice time at Lake Erie, and everybody hears, Lake Erie, that's a great lake. I'm sure it's nice up there. But then you end up at this place and then the sea monster comes out and eats your mother-in-law. Okay. I mean, I don't know how you feel about your mother-in-law. I'm not saying, I'm not suggesting you should have any enmity whatsoever. But if it comes out, you're going to be blamed. But if you have this document and the requirements document says, we're going to Lake Erie, everybody agrees, everybody reads it, everybody signs it at the bottom, then everybody's to blame. So it's very important that you write your requirements in such a way that everybody can read them, everybody can agree to them, and everybody sees them written down. And when you hand them to them, at the end they go, this isn't what I asked for. Well, it's exactly what you asked for, times 2. So I hope that's clear. Like I said, requirements are necessary. I'm not going to even ever try to define how to gather requirements, where to gather requirements, any of that here. I do have it in my book, and it's quite a bit of words to not even scratch the surface of how you really need to do this and et cetera. We're going to talk more about, the designs and implementation and things, but it's a topic I always like to put early in my series on database design, because you have to know that you get requirements and it's up to you to sit down and think if they're right. because your output needs to be correct based on those requirements. You know, what is correct? You know, it's based on what the requirements say. If the requirements say, you know, I need a picture and I need the sky to be red, you give them a blue sky, it's not right. Okay. And this is always the hardest part of any project. You're probably not going to get it right. Nobody, whoever gives it to you is not going to get it right. You're going to look at the requirements and go, what? This makes literally no sense, and you'll have to argue about it. Or sometimes you'll just end up doing it. And then we come to the question of all questions, which I will discuss soon in an episode, which is what is good enough? You know, what are good enough requirements? Because perfect requirements, honestly, would be basically the code and pseudocode. They would be just about that, right? Because that's, you know, kind of a customer sits down and what is your process? Well, they would write out the process step by step by step by step by step. And that doesn't generally happen. You want to keep the requirements away from the coding, but all the logic kind of needs to be covered. All right. So if you have any questions, disagreements, want to call me a name or two, I don't mind. I've I've been doing this a long time. The comment on this YouTube video, send me an email, message me at Twitter, anywhere you see me on Linktree, Dr. SQL, or even if you link over to the Figments all over the place, Linktree, and you want to send it to my TikTok of me talking about theme park rides, I will happily reply. So, and I will absolutely consider adding another one of these chats to cover it, the details of whatever questions you have. Till next time, bye-bye.